The Gentle Art of Tramping, Chapter 18, Tobacco. It has been said that whereas a pipe is a man's wife, a cigarette is his lady friend. In these terms, it is difficult to define a cigar, but it will be agreed that the cigar is unnecessary on tramp. We have no after-dinner mood. A pipe will go on a long way. The cigarette has to be cast off and renewed. The cigar does not enter in. Nevertheless, I shall hear of excellent walkers who carried boxes of cigars in their rucksacks, and lifted the smoke of Havana to the noon sky. Some fellows even chew an unlighted cigar as they walk. It has frequently been said to me, I should think that when you got to some point on your tramps, with great views opening before you, it was a rare place for smoke. This moved me, in my intolerant years, to so much mirth. How could I share the beauties of nature with a pipe? I asked. It seemed to me strange that one should wish to smoke when the fire of one's own thoughts was burning brightly and streaming upward in poetic exultation. Even now I cannot go back on my personal experience of years past. One of my most romantic occasions in tramping that I remember was during a vagabondage in the Crimea, when I reached the gate of Bedari and watched for an hour a marvelous changing sunset far over the Black Sea and its mountainous shore. It was my busiest hour of the day. I was soaking in that sunset to the core of my intelligence. What rapture, what prayerful vigilance was mine then, as in the late twilight, knapsack on back, I stood on grand platforms over the sea, and was, as it were, alone, the one pilgrim in the universe. In those days I was a non-smoker, but even later when, through offering friends cigarettes, I at last began offering them to myself, I do not associate tobacco with great moments. It was very delightful when riding a horse to light a cigarette, and smoke as you amble along, and it makes a difference on a long train journey to have the narcotic of tobacco. But to me, smoking is not naturally associated with tramping. One very memorable moment, after I had begun to smoke, was when I climbed out of the jungles of Darien on the ridge where Balboa saw the Pacific for the first time. It was pure poetry to see the blue triangle of the southern sea far over the forests and the hills. But where Balboa and his men sang a Te Deum, I did not sit on a stone and light up a pipe. However, there is no doubt that smoking in company is a social grace. It gives a sense of unity, and at the same time it is a source of some pleasure. We are always warned that our cigarette ends have set forests afire, but the rest of the cigarette has lighted our faces and lighted our packs. As the soldier finds the route march more supportable if he has permission to smoke, so also the tramp, on a long and arduous hill, can get much help from cigarette or pipe. It gives patience on the way and impatience again in camp, while waiting for the pot to boil, and the final peace pipe at the end of the day settles all experiences into a harmonious unity and prepares the mind for the night. Smoking seems to fill up the empty cells in time. When there is nothing else to do, a man takes out a cigarette. On the other hand, after stress or strain, it soothes, and it prepares the mind for artistic work. At the same time, in writing, it seems to me that as good as literary works can be done without tobacco as with it. Upon occasion, the cigarette, and more often the cigar, will deaden one's sensibilities. The effect is the rising of sombre impressions, rather than bright thinking. Tobacco has considerable influence on modern literature, though it would be difficult to show just where the difference is. It has made some writers tolerant, but others merely laconic, helped some to be witty, helped others to be merely cynical. Thousands of cigarettes have gone to the making of a novel, and it would be amusing, and perhaps also interesting, if one could compute the number that went to the various chapters. That is not entirely relevant here, for it is the custom of many writers to think out their work while walking. They walk, and they smoke, and they think, and the ideas form. Curiously enough, I smoked my first cigar on the way to Havana, and could not finish it. It almost finished me. I used to say that cigars belonged to a certain later period in a man's life, when he had succeeded, and could lean back into his chair, and view the world at ease. It is perhaps an English idea, Cigars in England are a luxury, but it is not so in other parts of the world. In England, when we smoke a cigar, we smoke largely tacks. But in other parts of the world, this choicer weed enjoys more freedom from impost. In Germany, in Holland, in the United States, in the Indies and Mexico, and in many other places, a cigar is no more luxury than a cigarette.